Cassie Ventura finished her deposition in Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking and racketeering trial after nearly 20 hours. Her accusation of abuse, rape, and coercion was explicit. The defense, especially today, countered with messages, audio, and claims that she participated in their freak-offs. Not only that, today we learned more about Diddy's hotel room and heard astonishing evidence from Don Richard. After hearing and seeing everything in today's courtroom, law and crime reporter Elizabeth Millman will explain it. After 4 days of heartbreaking evidence, Sean Diddy Combs' federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial witness, Cassandra Ventura, has resigned. Her narrative of physical abuse, rape, coercion, freak-offs, and a $20 million settlement created a picture of their decades-long relationship. This provides the jury with much to consider. I think it strengthened this case, especially after the cross-examination. We'll recap today's hearings, day 5 of this bombshell trial, and future expectations. Elizabeth Milner, Law and Crimes correspondent, has been in that courtroom for every second of these proceedings. Nice to see you, Elizabeth. First, there was some disturbance before you did your hit. Many people are following this case. There are several people outside the courthouse. Can you briefly describe the courtroom and outdoor atmosphere? That seems like the scene and epicenter right now. Absolutely. There's been a lot of public interest in this case, not just from the media, but also from those who want to see Diddy or his family. And so, there are never enough public members outside that courthouse. Jesse, when I went outside to chat with you today, I observed a woman wearing hair extensions. She and a man yelled. A man yelled at her. It was intense. I didn't understand what was going on, but many others were around them. I stroll across the street and see only Free Diddy t-shirts, which is interesting since I didn't see any when I entered the courtroom this morning, but it was early. Maybe a lot of people were thinking, it's Friday, let me go into the courthouse, see what's up, and see if I can get a glimpse. Because some people still think Diddy walks out of the courtroom every day. He returns to MDC Brooklyn every night and day after trial, although it's still very crowded. People were pressing behind me. Either the media, cell phone cameras, or physical cameras will be out there trying to get a peek of all this action, because even with us in the media, the cameras still go all the way down the block. Nearly every major legacy station is covering this story in the courtroom. Podcasters, YouTubers, and influencers want a piece of this action to see Diddy's trial, which is happening. Today, the courtroom tone and atmosphere were highly anticipated, since we were wondering how Cassie Ventura's cross-examination would continue. The supporters who supported Diddy today were different than the first couple of days of trial because his daughters and mother weren't there. A source told me they're not there because the twins are about to graduate. It's graduation and prom season, so they flew home to attend those events. But Diddy's support system inside the courtroom was his sons, his 3 adult sons, Quincy, Justin, and Christian Combs. And Cassie's support system was her attorney, Doug Wigder, her mother, and her brother. What did you notice about the jury today? What was their attitude? Anything noteworthy about them? What can you tell us about the jury? I know it's hard to read them. Of course, reading them is difficult, especially from where I was sitting in the courtroom. I saw a lot of their back of the head from that angle. I watched most of them doing what they've been doing all week, which the judge noted as paying attention. They took notes and examined exhibits. Still playing that tennis match between Ana Maria Esteveo's cross-examination and Cassie, or just Cassie. I couldn't tell if the jury was bored with the case yet, but they were mostly attentive. Today, the judge noted that they're on time, eager to serve on this jury, and paying great attention to everything. You said yesterday that they appeared checked out during the cross-examination, which is fascinating. Perhaps they grasped the defense's case. Was it too repetitive? I thought today's cross-examination was different. I'll tell you, this audio recording has been discussed a lot in the courthouse. This Cassandra Ventura audio tape showed her enraged. This is intriguing because the defense is seeking to portray Cassandra Ventura's alleged experiences as voluntary and Diddy's conduct as illegal. What was this audio cassette and what was its value? Jury heard what? The defense valued the audio cassette highly. Cassie recorded a 2014 conversation with Sujit, a former co-worker. Cassie's story involves Sujit, who claimed he had a sexually graphic film of her on his phone that someone had told him about. She confronted Sujit because she thought this was a freak-off video and wanted to know where he got it and how he got it. I think the audio was a surprise this morning because Cassie is extremely soft-spoken on the stand. She answers inquiries quietly and calmly. However, Under this audio, she was clearly furious while trying to confront Sujit about this sexually graphic film more than 10 years ago. The defense has to point out that he was in California after it was taken in Atlantic City. Cassie informed Sujit on this audio recording, "We'll work it out," and asked him, "So you witnessed me indulging?" Sujit confirmed that he had the video on her phone. Cassie says, "You stated someone else was in the room, so I'm not praising myself." Cassie continually asked, "Can I see it? Can I see? Can I see?" She then gets into it, which may have benefited the defense. "I will murder you," she says. "We'll kill you. Place you in a desert. I'll cut." She says, "I'll hire someone since you're ruining my life." She stated that this sugar, honey, iced tea isn't cool. You can see what I mean by taking the first letters of such words, but it was really her shouting as she confronted Sujit about the sexually filthy film I mentioned at lunch. I can see why she's upset, right? Imagine a random person with a private video. We all say stuff like, "I'll kill you," without meaning it. When angry, we say that. A joke may be made. She may not have wanted to pursue this or anything else. In general, I can understand her wrath in saying these things, but for the defense, it was something they were trying to frame as maybe or not as meek and quiet as you portray yourself to be. Aggression is possible. You can argue and utilize your boyfriend's power to escalate the threat. Cassie talked extensively about this meetup with Sujit, Diddy's security, and how they had this full meetup when she was under direct investigation. Many folks were worried and concerned at the group meeting. When heard via the audio, there was a dramatic contrast. She reiterated that she would be ashamed or unhappy if this video leaked or went public. This video was mostly about that. This audio recording, though. However, you could hear her anger and unhappiness about what happened. The defense may have said, "Man, she didn't want this tape out." So she and Combs tried everything they could to keep this tape from going out. It's not only a criminal hiding his crime, but this guy is trying to shield Cassandra Ventura and himself from the tape being out again, recharacterizing Sean Combs' behavior. That was my takeaway. However, I must inquire quickly. Jonathan Adi, also Jonathan Odie, Jonathan Adi. This is it. Supposedly he shot up the Trump property in 2018. This male performer informed investigators he was Sean Combs' sex slave and referenced Cassandra Ventura at his arrest. It was unclear how to react. His recording idea arrived today. He did, although not particularly regarding this Sujit recording. Jonathan Adi was asked about his hidden footage of Cassie and whether he was freaking out or trying to delete it. Cassie testified that, did he pay a lot of money to keep this video from being released? Cassie said during her cross today that she and he will never utilize Jonathan again after this. He said she freaked out and said he was never used again since Adi had threatened to disclose this footage. When Cassie asked Diddy about this recording, Diddy answered, "I'll handle it." The defense asked, would releasing this video shame Diddy? Since Diddy is famous, wouldn't it embarrass you too? Because you were also famous at the time. That was the Audi mention that clicked in my head today, because he was brought up a couple of days ago when Cassie was under direct examination, because they put up a lot of exhibits, photos of freak-off escorts. Jonathan's face shone out. This explains why Jonathan was never utilized again during a freak-off. The 2016 event at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles, where Combs appeared to be Cassandra Ventura, was the subject of much testimony. We've discussed that endlessly. It's important evidence, but there was more regarding communications afterward, right? Can you discuss those communications? What did Ventura and Combs talk about following this 2016 incident? The defense basically asked Cassie was Diddy blacked out throughout this incident. Cassie claims she wrote Diddy around this time, the wrong way up. I suppose we saw before trial that you always want to show me that you can knock me around like a rag doll. The defense implied Diddy did this because he mixed narcotics and alcohol. Even during yesterday's cross-examination, they said Diddy had dangerous drugs when he attacked Cassie in the hotel room. Estevao remained. This was kind of written down. She kept forgetting to present proof. She even apologized. It was a complete incident. Cassie was discussing Diddy's letter saying, "I'm very horny for you," Cassie replied. What made you feel that? Because these texts were sent after the Intercontinental Hotel assault. While testifying today, she noted it was weird for Diddy to say that. Cassie told him we need a new mood for Friday. Friday was the hotel incident, night or day. Diddy replied to Cassie F Friday and FUCK Friday. Diddy added, I don't want to do that again. Cassie said, LMAO true. These SMS messages flew by, so I'm paraphrasing. Diddy replied to Cassie, You're doing what? I adore you, Cassie texted. I think the defense was trying to infer that after this terrible and physical assault, they just went back to saying, I love you to each other, kind of bandaging the wound. She hadn't canceled anything, though. Cassie was then asked about her post-assault facial photographs. Cassie didn't recall taking those photos, she said. We saw these courtroom images. After the incident, Cassie was in the Uber rear seat. Despite her sunglasses, you could see a busted or plump lip. But she also had a black eye because she stated she was hit in the face before she left the hotel room, before we saw the surveillance tape showing her being abused in the room. I think the defense was trying to portray this as domestic violence. This always happened, but Diddy was on narcotics at the time. I was hoping they would play Diddy's apologetic video, which we all saw on his Instagram account after the video was released. Today, neither the government nor the defense mentioned this video. You would think that because Diddy had said during his apology video that I was so messed up during this time period, and I was thinking that essentially that he was so messed up from the drugs that they would try to paint that picture. But that video didn't arrive today. It may be that we haven't seen it yet. She said, I'm not a rag doll, I'm somebody's child. That's a powerful message. The 2018 alleged rape was another difficult topic they probed. She testified that Sean Combs raped her and had consensual sex thereafter. What was the alleged rape cross-examination like? As a major alleged moment in this case, and a moment, especially in the courtroom, because Alex Fine had to go. Since we've been discussing this for a few days, the defense may call Alex Fine to discredit his wife, a defense method that I find intriguing. Alex Fine isn't listening to this testimony in court. He merely walks out and sits outside or in a secluded place, waiting to be called back in. Regarding the 2018 alleged rape, the defense asked Cassie why she and Diddy were meeting around this time. Cassie stated that she was no longer dating Diddy. Alex Fine, her husband, was her date. Cassie wrote to Diddy, I love myself more, about this time. Again, several messages back and forth. She said, I love myself more, was forgiven. She was always there. Gina has been a discussion topic throughout Cassie's testimony. Cassie says Gina helped end the relationship. Cassie saw a photo of Diddy and Gina together and thought they were monogamous, and Diddy was no longer seeing Gina. Cassie wrote to Diddy, I promised I wouldn't be with you anymore. In August 2018, they discussed closing. Diddy was attempting to encourage Cassie to go to Burning Man, a large music event they had attended several times throughout their relationship. I suppose you have to remember that these two were together for a longer time than anyone else in my life, besides my parents. So, 11 years is lengthy. Yes, they were on and off frequently. These communications suggest. Diddy was thinking, maybe we'll get back together. Maybe this isn't the end. Cassie's federal case, which was resolved the next day, had rape accusations, which the defense brought up about this time. The defense said you said this happened in August, but your lawsuit says it happened in September. You met with New York prosecutors in 2023 after the lawsuit. The defense claims you informed the government that this happened in September 2018. The defense claims that Cassie told the government that Diddy was acting strangely during a 2023 meeting with federal prosecutors and agents, describing the alleged rape and saying that Diddy was acting strangely that night. The defense claims Cassie told the authorities Diddy was behaving worried, which wasn't mentioned during her rape testimony. The defense asked Cassie if you informed the government that Diddy was bipolar and mentally ill. More text messages from August 21st, 2018 followed. Always quoting, Cassie responded to Diddy, hit me when you can, meaning, let's meet up. Diddy replied, I'm at an investor conference. Good. The call went directly to voicemail, Diddy said. Cassie added, thanks. I know I look horrible to you, Diddy said. I felt that was fascinating because it would support her assertion that things weren't right. The defense claims that Cassie told the authorities in April 2025, just last year or last month, that the rape occurred in August 2018. You stated it happened in August. Did it happen in August or September? After seeing these August 2018 text exchanges, Cassie was asked, do you dislike Diddy? She said she still doesn't dislike Diddy. She still loves the past. More texts appeared. This is August 2018. Please call me, Diddy said to Cassie. Cassie. I'm heartbroken. Diddy. Good night. Me too. The defense is asking why this messaging is happening if the rape happened in August. Perhaps this confirms September. Cassie texted Diddy in September asking how yoga was going. Diddy likely slept with a yoga instructor. That was the implication, that he was intimate with his yoga instructor. Diddy replied, "What does yoga have to do with me?" Cassie wrote, "Diddy, I heard you dated." Cassie asked, "Who am I dating?" Cassie said, "I must stop caring." "Do you even want a date?" Diddy asked. "Talk about it." 1 week later, Diddy responded, "Do what you gotta do." Cassie suggested we talk tomorrow. Diddy claimed he doesn't want a second breakup. Cassie said, "I love you. I don't want to be your girlfriend anymore." We then discuss her now husband, Alex Fine. In September 2018, Diddy discovered that Cassie was seeing Alex Fine when they were intimate when Alex Fine called Cassie. Alex Fine was a personal trainer during this time, which may explain why Diddy was furious. Alex Fine was employed by Diddy to coach Cassie. The defense always seeks to emphasize that. After Cassie told Diddy she had a nice night with him, the defense inquired how Alex got out about Diddy. The defense questioned, "Did your husband smash the wall when he learned about the alleged rape?" Cassie said the defense was attempting to tie it with the rape. Cassie tried to emphasize that this alleged rape didn't occur when Alex called. However, the defense was that Alex was so enraged after learning that this had occurred to his now wife that he struck the wall. In fact, if Alex Fine is called as a government or defense witness, they will likely discuss this during his testimony, as he may have to. It's hard to say if he'll do that. Probably not. Yeah. Elizabeth, it's intriguing that they were communicating 3 years before she sued him in 2020. Discuss that. Yeah. Cassie says they communicated following their separation. You notice more texts from March 2019, but March 2020 communications show they were still communicating, circa COVID-19. Not sure if that played a role in them continuing to communicate. However, Cassie was married to Alex Fine in 2020. In March 2020, Diddy wrote to Cassie, "Miss my best friend. She was pregnant, maybe with their first child. Cassie said she missed you. Please take care of yourself." Diddy replied again, always quoting, "expressing you love." But the text messages were much lengthier. Cassie said, "Send my love to them," that is, his children, because they were talking about how well they were doing. Diddy wrote to Cassie, "You're my ride or die. I thank God for our time together." Again, the defense attempts to assert that the two were in love in 2020. Interesting, I observed in my many notes, and I'm on notebook 3 now, that Diddy continued gazing at Cassie during this time, not overanalyzing and playing into his defense. He was gazing at Cassie fairly directly. That may have been his weakness. Not 100%. Sure. Certainly not in his thinking. Cassie replied later from the ride or die text, saying, "I took my time to gather my thoughts. What you stated blew my head. I wouldn't have this lovely time without you. Beautiful time is her new family with her hubby." Then they requested a closure meeting around this time. In 2020, Diddy responded to Cassie's joyous tears. "Happy you met someone you deserve everything. You deserve affection and respect. I'm available to sit down and discuss if you like." I think Cassie implied on the stand today that she had always wanted to hear this. Just remember, Jesse, that these dates were in 2020. Cassie claims she used illegal substances until 2022. She entered rehab in 2023, and then she started having flashbacks and reprocessing things through trauma therapy and other means. She was with him for 11 years. She spent much of her adult life with this person. I think putting everything in context makes sense. People sometimes break up and message each other about the wonderful times from a couple of years ago. This reaction is normal. The defense mostly tried to show that Diddy loved Cassie even after caring about her, but for the most part, Cassie doesn't seem to dislike Diddy or want him hurt. Perhaps the defense was trying to emphasize that the two were still in love 2 years ago. That will be the defense's challenge. Right. How could she not despise him, the jury may ask? How could she contact him? She wrote, "I'm lost without you." How could she? She now claims he sex trafficked her. Her testimony won't resolve this complex analysis. I think a mental health expert will join us to discuss this. We witnessed this in Harvey Weinstein and other situations. The defense has a lot to work with. Clear, right? The premise is that this was mutual. The jurors may struggle to compare one hand to coercive. I was wondering if the defense would work with this because she talked about recollections in therapy and rehab. Would I be wrong to think the defense was trying to suggest as I've seen in previous cases, that her recollections were twisted. The defense may argue that everything was consensual, but when she goes to rehab and gets therapy, her memories of Sean Combs are twisted to make her.